Hey, I'm glad you're here and welcome to The Rundown with Ramon. We give you tips on how to live a better life or grow your business. And I'm glad you're here with me today. In today's episode, we're going to talk about a few things. One, what I learned from Tom Brady, the GOAT, greatest of all time, Super Bowl, NFL athlete, football player. Tips from Stephen A. Smith, one of the most well-regarded, highest-paid commentators on ESPN, where he talks about knowing your value, investing in high-ticket events, and we'll touch a bit on what is burnout and how to prevent it. So, to you, thanks for watching The Rundown with Ramon. I'm Ramon Ray, and I've started 5 companies, sold 3 companies. I'm an in-demand motivational speaker and event host, and you can get to know me better at RamonRay.com. And if you're looking for tips or insights on how to build your personal brand, you can also find me at Celebrity CEO. That's CelebrityCEO.com. So, what did I learn from Tom Brady about teamwork and hard work overall? A few days ago, I was at a large business conference with thousands and thousands of attendees, 5,000 attendees to be exact. And Tom Brady, the NFL athlete, greatest of all time, multiple winning Super Bowls that is under his belt, the rings he has 4, talked about several important things with the event host, the person who was interviewing him at this growth conference. 2 things stood out for me that Tom Brady said that I think will be important to you and hopefully important to us all. And one is the importance of teamwork. And the second thing he talked about was the importance of hard work. So here's some things that Tom Brady would say. Now, what was interesting, he was at the event and he was asked about him being the most winningest athlete, asked about him being a star, asked about him, which would be natural. But Tom Brady pushed back in this conversation and said, whoa, it's not about me per se. I'm just a part of this equation. But he pushed back and said over and over and over again, it's about the team. So I think that's interesting for all of us who are leaders. And Tom Brady is a leader of the teams he's taken to the Super Bowl and etc. He could have put that on himself. He could have expressed that it kind of was about me. He's earned that right to say, yeah, I'm the quarterback. I'm the greatest of all time. And largely because of him, I guess you could say that he carried the team to victory. But Tom Brady couldn't be in the Super Bowl, if it wasn't even for the opposing team, if it wasn't for the whole NFL franchise, the whole back operations and the whole system and the sponsors and fans. And that's one thing Tom Brady said over and over again. He talked about the fans. Tom Brady knows that he's not just playing a football game, but he's there to deliver entertainment for fans. He's there to put a show on so fans are there and so sponsors want to pay into it so that there can be an NFL game. And he talked about the team. So when you have a chance to take the glory, to take it upon yourself, yeah, you get some credit because you're a professional, because you put in the work, because you're who you are. But never forget the importance and the power of the team that brought you there. So it's interesting how Tom would deflect and talk about how the team was so important. Another thing that Tom Brady said that was very, very interesting was he said winning was not everything. Now, in single-person sports or where it's just you against the opponent, something like tennis or pole vaulting, yeah, maybe winning is everything. You just got to do the best you can and win. But he said in football, it's a little different because there's a team. There's other guys or girls playing girls football or other things you're doing volleyball. And so maybe you don't win, but did you do your best? So I thought that was interesting. Somebody who's won so many games, he said, no, it's not about winning is everything. It's really the aspect, did I do the best that I can? That's what Tom Brady said is the number one most important thing for him to know at the end of the day, that he did the best he could. And so winning's important, he said, but it's not everything. What's more important than that is to know, did I do the best that I can? Another thing Tom Brady talked about is about the importance of work. And he said hard work is important. Of course, you have to work smarter, but he said even at that level of being in the highest of athletes you can, being in the NFL, he said even everybody there doesn't work as hard as they think they are, meaning they may work harder than everybody else who didn't get to the Super Bowl level or the NFL level, but even at that level, hard work is relative because he and a few others outwork many others of their peers. So when you think about hard work and excellence, we think of people like Michael Jordan and many others. There's the skill we have, the skill that God gives us, absolutely. But in addition to that skill, are we learning how to train and how to leverage that skill properly? In addition to learning how to leverage the skill properly, are we also working hard? Are we putting in the repetitions? Are we putting in the reps? Are we putting in the work? Oftentimes, I would dare say, you're going to get back. You're going to get from you. You're going to get the results of the work that you put in. So if there is subpar performance, something you wish you would have got, then I would dare say, ask yourself, did you put the work in to earn it and to win it? And if you didn't get the results you wanted, ask yourself, did you earn the win? Did you put in the work? Another thing that was interesting is Tom Brady talked about how he was draft pick 199. I believe it was 199 when he was drafted from wherever he was at, going into his first NFL team. And he said when he was initially drafted at the beginning of his career in the NFL and possibly in college even, that he got 2 reps. Reps are repetitions, like how many times you're asked to pick and practice on the field and not being on the bench. And he said he got 2, 3, very small amount of reps. And he was whining and complaining about it. Why am I only getting picked this amount? But his mentor at the time, and that's a side note, mentors can help you get to the next level. His mentor at the time, his coach at the time, the person he was looking up to at the time said, Tom, stop whining, stop complaining. If you only get 2 reps, if you only get 1 rep, if they don't think you're ready, if they don't see your value yet, every chance you get, leave it all on the table. Leave it on the field. Every chance you get, you put in all the work you can, just as if you're playing on game day, just as if it is the Super Bowl. And Tom Brady began to change his, wait for it, begin to change his attitude. Begin to change his attitude. And when he changed his attitude and started working as hard no matter how many reps he got, people then started to notice it. Because oftentimes you will work how your mind tells you to work. You might think you're working hard, but if your mind is lazy, you may not be working as hard as you think you are because your mind is lazy. Because your mind's not putting in the work. So Tom Brady changed his attitude, and lo and behold, he started working hard each opportunity he had, or working harder, having a better attitude, putting in everything he had, whether he had 1 rep or 10 reps, and he began to get more reps, be asked to play more in the field, begin to practice more in the field, and now we have Tom Brady, who it is today, the greatest of all time athlete in the NFL. So even if you're only picked once, even if you're only picked to do a small, quote unquote, menial job, do it with all your heart, as the Bible says, as Paul says in the Bible. Do it with all your heart. So that's my story of Tom Brady. And again, thanks for listening to The Rundown with Ramon. Get to know me better at RamonRay.com. If you're enjoying this episode or past episodes of The Rundown with Ramon, DM me on Instagram at Ramon Ray Smart Hustle, at Ramon Ray Smart Hustle. Check me out more at RamonRay.com. And you can see insight about building your personal brand at CelebrityCEO.com. Next thing I want to touch on are the tips I got from Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is arguably the best host, talk show host, entertainer in sports, or I would say even beyond that, he's one of the most well-regarded hosts on ESPN. And one thing he talked about that jumped out to me was the importance of knowing your value. If I'm trying to negotiate for something, if I'm trying to ask for a raise, if I'm trying to get more, but I don't know what's important to you, how can I properly negotiate? So he was saying before, Stephen A. Smith would go outside, as it were, metaphorically, go around a block and people would be like, yo, Stephen, and praise him and all these things. And he thought, hey, listen, people like me, I'm being praised. And he would bring that into the room and negotiate with ESPN and others. But he realized that wasn't most important to them. What was most important to them was ratings, ratings, and ratings. And so he got smarter at his subsequent negotiations. And he went into the room next time saying, here's how the ratings are. Here's when Stephen A. Smith is speaking. Here's how the ratings look on ESPN, had to look on social media, etc. He came armed with data to present to the powers that be. Sometimes when we argue, sometimes when we negotiate, we're not negotiating with what's important to the other person. But once you begin to speak the language of what's important to the other person, you will find, I would dare say, that the negotiations are going to change. Because you're trying to convince me to pay you more, saying I should pay you more because you come on time. Maybe coming on time is not important for me. What's important for me is how fast you work. This is what Stephen A. Smith came to understand. Another thing I talked about earlier is about Tom Brady. Stephen A. Smith at one point in his life had a bad attitude. He had a bad attitude. And it's his mother who said, Stephen, you got a bad attitude. You got to fix your attitude. Because of the attitude like that, you talking about people, gossiping about people, tearing people down, no wonder it's difficult to work with you, etc. And he changed his attitude. He changed his attitude for the better, and his work environment began to change. So Stephen A. Smith, amazing, came from a rough background where he overheard his mama telling his daddy, this boy is just dumb. He'll never learn. Get used to it. Do you know what that's like for a child to hear your dad tell your mother he's just dumb, to hear your parents think you're worthless, to hear your parents think that you can't cut it, to your parents think that you're not good enough? That keeps you down. That holds you down. That doesn't give you self-esteem. So Stephen A. Smith of ESPN had to rise above that. What about you? John Acuff has an amazing book out called Soundtracks. I encourage you to get it. It's a book that our past plays soundtracks in our mind, plays in our mind over and over and over and over and over again, keeping us down, putting these debilitating thoughts in our mind, chains around us. But we have to decide if we're going to change the tune of the soundtrack in our mind and play a different tune so we can rise above that. Stephen A. Smith did it. You can do it too. Next up on The Rundown with Ramon, and again, thanks for listening to The Rundown with Ramon. I hope you're enjoying this episode. If you are, could you DM me on Instagram, Ramon Ray Smart Hustle, or send me an email, ramon@ramonray.com, and let me know how you like this episode of The Rundown with Ramon, what we can do better if you want to be interviewed on The Rundown with Ramon. Investing in high-ticket events. Recently, I went to a conference where I heard these two gentlemen speaking at, and I paid about $5,000 for that ticket. And there were tickets that were $10,000, $20,000, something like that. And for me, $5,000 for a ticket's quite a bit of money, but I'm glad I did. Here's the thing about investing in high-ticket events. Even if the ticket's not $5,000, maybe it's $500, maybe it's $200, but definitely not going to just free events. Higher ticket events tend to attract more serious people. And when I say more serious people, my point is, if somebody's paid $500 or $5,000 or $10,000 at an event, that speaks to the caliber of them. That speaks to the money they were able to pull together, that they had, or they took their last dime, the seriousness of what they think of that event in most cases. This doesn't mean serious people not at free events. This doesn't mean good people not at free events, but it does demarcate. It does segment certain types of people, those who paid $5,000 for a ticket and those who got the event for free. I see this on airlines all the time. Those who are flying first class or business class, often they're more seasoned people. They're people who possibly have some more money working for large companies, etc. And the networking's different than sitting in the back of the plane with, your average family or person who's there just going to visit Disneyland, right? If you get my point I'm trying to say. So I encourage you in the coming months, coming years, consider investing in your first higher ticket events. And if you're hearing the sound of my voice, I'd love to know, what events do you invest in that are a bit higher tickets? As you're investing in higher ticket events, you're around people who are also investing in themselves. It was well worth it for me to do that. One, I had a guaranteed seat. Those who didn't have a ticket at that high level I had a premier ticket, didn't have a guaranteed seat. Two, I was around other people who were like-minded like me, who also wanted to invest their money in a higher ticket event. But it's not just investing in the ticket overall that makes the difference. You also got to network. You also have to look left and right and say hello and get involved in the event. You have to come out of your shell, show up early at the event to get all you can. Sit towards the front, look for moments of opportunities to take selfies with that person just for that emotional high. So yes, I will still attend free events. I will still attend events that cost a bit less. But there's something to attending high ticket events that can make a difference in your life, can make a difference in your business. Once again, thanks for listening to The Rundown with Ramon. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. I sure am enjoying delivering, giving it to you. Want to touch on next, burnout symptoms. What is burnout and how to stop this? And I get this from one of my sites, BWC Daily. You can see that at bwcdaily.com. And this insight's from my good friend, Larissa Harrington, who's a burnout prevention specialist. So first of all, let's talk about what is burnout. It's very common in today's fast-paced society. We're going on and on and on. And burnout can affect you regardless of the age you're in or regardless of your profession. But burnout is that exhaustion, that emotional and mental, physical exhaustion where you're just feeling overwhelmed in your mind. So what are some symptoms of burnout? There's several symptoms of burnout. Emotional exhaustion, reduced performance, depersonalization. These are just a few things that are symptoms of burnout. This is not a momentary, you're tired because that day happened to be rough, but often this is kind of an extended period of time, day after day after day, week after week after week. You're just feeling drained and burned out. What are some causes of burnout? Caused by chronic stress that's not properly managed. Again, we all have stress, but when you don't manage it, and you have an increased amount of pressure of stress from your work, from family, from finances, health issues, it can drag on you. Burnout is no bueno. Burnout is no good. Of course, certain personality traits can increase the risk of burnout as well. For example, maybe you're a perfectionist and everything has to be done just perfect. Well, life is often not like that. And if you're a perfectionist, you may find you're more prone to burnout than others. So you may have to lose that perfectionist syndrome. So a few things as I look at some notes, how to prevent burnout. Prioritizing self-care. Setting boundaries. Practice mindfulness. Seek support from others who can uplift you and give you that breath, that breathing to not feel so burnt out. Address work-related stress. If you're in a work environment that is toxic or stressing you out, is there something you can do about it? Can you talk to your boss or your boss's boss? Can you talk to your peers? Can you set boundaries within work? Taking breaks are important. Just to pause. Taking breaks. What about engaging in positive self-talk? The burnout's there, sure, but what can you do to not let that burnout get to you? Listen, I'm Ramon Ray. This has been The Rundown with Ramon. I hope this episode has been useful to you. We got advice from Tom Brady, advice from Stephen A. Smith. We talked about the importance of getting high-ticket events on your calendar for the coming months. We talked about preventing burnout. Life is not easy. Life is difficult. We have our family, we have our careers, we have our community, our faith. We have to be healthy. We have ourselves to make sure we're intact emotionally and physically. Life isn't easy, but it definitely can be a lot easier if we prioritize life. If we have things in the order they should be in life, we can make it much easier. Don't go day by day by day by day by day in a rat race. Take time to breathe. Take time to decompress. Take time to think about where you are in your career, where you are in life, where you are with your family, where you are with yourself. Where you are with yourself is so important. Again, thank you for watching The Rundown with Ramon. Check me out at RamonRay.com. If you need help in personal branding, check out CelebrityCEO.com. And so grateful to Black Enterprise for letting me educate you to live your best life or start your business on The Rundown with Ramon. And hey, I want to hear from you. Maybe you have a question for me, a comment, email me, Ramon@RamonRay.com, or DM me on Instagram, Ramon Ray Smart Hustle. And again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to The Rundown with Ramon.